Hey everybody, it's Abishur Prakash or Mr. Geopolitics. In today's episode of Predictable versus Unpredictable, we'll be looking at the US-China economic war and how this is forcing nations to pick sides. During his first term, Trump used tariffs and trade to get nations to align with Washington to stand with what America wants and the direction America was moving in. Trump raised the levies, raised the tariffs, raised the taxes, and much of the world ran to America. Much of the world was in a state of flux as to what it had to do to make America stop the pain and bring normalcy back to the global economy. So many economies danced to America's tune. Now Trump is using the same strategy of raising the heat on countries, on economies across the board, expecting those nations to once again dance to America's tune and remove the barriers that Trump is unhappy with. But Trump is going further than this in his second term. Now Trump is forcing nations not just to align with America, but to walk away from China. The US is exploring trade deals with dozens of countries that hinge on those governments restricting the flow of Chinese goods through their borders. This is an unprecedented move. It means that for nations to secure a trade deal with America, they must ditch China. This hasn't happened before, and it opens the floodgates of nations having to pick sides. So that's the predictable. Now, the unpredictable in all this is, what does it mean for China and the world? The Chinese face a new daunting prospect of economies shutting the door to Chinese goods, to Chinese trade. And many countries are likely to side with America, meet America's conditions, meet America's demands, because their reliance on the US economy, their need for access, unfettered access to the US economy is far greater than their reliance and dependency on China. Even though no nation is free of reliance with China, much of the world remains pegged to America. And so for China, it faces a Herculean task of redesigning global trade, redesigning how the Chinese trade with the world, how Chinese goods circulate the global economy. And this means potentially turning to countries within the US orbit, as strange as it sounds, who are unhappy with America. For example, the EU is deeply unhappy with America. In many ways, the transatlantic alliance is over, and the EU has entered a period of recoupling, what I call recoupling, or a reopening with China. This is an opportunity for China to push its goods through into European markets and capture countries that are not willing to stand with America. But from a more holistic point of view, what the US is doing signals that the era of neutrality, of geopolitical neutrality, is dead. Now everybody, from governments to businesses, has to pick sides, and this leads to even more unpredictability as to which corner, which side will nations pick. Countries cannot stay neutral in the pursuit of global growth, of global integration, of global development, or capturing all this in the pursuit of globalization. Those days are gone. Now, as the US and China raise the heat on each other, the walls are closing in, and every global stakeholder will have to pick a flag to stand under. And this is pushing the world, and this means that the US-China economic war is pushing the globe deeper into territory where the globe is fragmented and fractured, and where nations are increasingly operating in a tribal setting and standing in exclusive groups that leave out much of the world.